friends. Welcome back to my kitchen. Welcome if you're new. I'm Cheryl, this table full of joy. And friends, we are on week 3 of a crazy, crazy schedule with my husband serving on jury duty. He's had grand jury for this, well, 3 weeks now, as I said. And I'm exhausted from this schedule. The schedule has just been, I'm a person, I love routine. I love schedules. I love planning things. I don't like having things spur of the moment. We don't find out until the night before what his schedule is the next day, when he has to be there, when he finishes. So nothing has been on schedule this week, and it's driving me crazy. I have no bread in my house right now. I have not had a single day where I could take time out to let bread rise, and I need to get some bread baked today. I have a list of things that we're gonna do today. So I sat down and started meal planning for the month of April, and I got to looking and I realized, you know, I have a ton of stuff in my freezers that I need to go through before summer starts. Before we get through spring, we start buying all of the fresh things from the farmers markets and all the things. So you and I, not today, but another video, that could be the video after this one, you and I are gonna go through my freezers together. We're gonna look and see what we have, and we are gonna do a spring cleanup on our freezers. We're gonna see what we have in there, what we can use up, what we can cook, and meal plan from those things. Try to use up whatever I have. As you guys know, I'm trying to change the way that we eat by eating things that are more homemade, from scratch, looking at ingredients a little bit more. But I've got things on my pantry shelf that I need to work through. I need to get through those things so that I can get rid of them. I don't want to throw them away. I don't want to just give them away. We spent our hard-earned money on those things, so we're going to use them. And I'm going to do the best that I can to make them as healthy as I possibly can. So we're going to work through those. And that's what we're going to do over this next month, is we're going to work through what I've got in my freezer. I will not say I'm not going to shop, because I probably will have to shop for certain things. But we are going to try to use up what we have on our pantry shelf, what we have in our freezers, and you and I are going to do that together in a separate video. But today we have a whole list of things we're going to do. We're going to make some bread. We're going to make some English muffins. We are going to make some, I saw this recipe on Acre Homestead. Becky made these a couple of days ago. They are a protein bagel. No yeast in them, so they don't have to rise. They don't have to do all the things, but they're delicious. Her husband raved about them. So we're going to make a batch of those. We are going to make some granola bars. I'm going to try to get some tortillas made. We are going to make some tomato spinach egg that we can cut up into squares, put those in the freezer for quick, easy breakfast sandwiches. We're going to do some sausage patties for the freezer, some bacon for the freezer. We're going to do 2 kinds of cookies to put in the freezer. One for the freezer, one for eating now. One is a strawberry oatmeal cookie. We're going to do those that my husband's going to have in his lunch or for snacks the rest of this week. And then we're going to do one I just saw. Renee at Welcome to My Curls, I follow her. She did a recipe for a cashew toffee chocolate chip cookie that looked incredible. So I have all the things to do those. So we're going to do a batch of those, but those we're going to scoop and freeze. And that way we'll have those to bake whenever we want. My husband is loving having homemade cookies in our freezer. Whenever he gets a hankering for a cookie in the evening, he can go grab one. We can throw it in the oven real quick and he can have a hot cookie in less than 10 minutes. So let's get started, friends. We have a huge list of things to get done today. I'm going to try to get all these done before he sends me a text and says he's ready to be picked up at the courthouse. If I can't get everything done today, we're going to carry this over in the morning. We'll finish up what we don't get done today. And then once we get these things finished, we're going to start tackling those freezers, our pantry, and start seeing what we have in there that we need to get rid of. Because friends, summer's coming and I'm excited about all the fresh produce. We are looking for a local source to start getting meat from. So I want to work through the meat that I have in my freezer now so that we can really focus on looking at where our meat's coming from, what it's been fed, all the things, looking for better ways to enjoy food around here. So friends, let's get our bread started. Our bread and our English muffins both have a rise time. So we're going to do those first so they can be rising while we're doing other things that don't need quite as much time. So let's get over to the mixer. Let's get this bread mixed up, get that in a bowl so it can go in the oven with the light on, oven off, rise up while we get our English muffins going. All right, so I was going to make some bread with fresh milled flour, but I need to find some more wheat berries. So we're just going to make my traditional Amish loaf that I do. Makes 2 loaves. It's perfect for bread, for sandwiches, all the things. So we're going to do 2 cups of warm water, 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. We want our yeast to sit here and get nice and bubbly. We're going to put in 2/3 of a cup of sugar. If you wanted to, you could totally use honey I'm just in a hurry right now, so I'm just going to use sugar. It's easy. I'm going to give this a quick little mix. We're gonna let that sit here for just a couple minutes so it can get nice and bubbly, and we'll come back and we'll add our salt, our oil, our flour, and we'll be ready to put this in the oven with the light on, oven off, so it can rise. All right, so you can see our yeast is nice and bubbly. We're gonna go ahead and add in our 1/4 cup of oil. I'm using avocado oil today instead of vegetable oil. We're gonna do, now I don't like to add my salt on top of my yeast. I'm paranoid about that, always afraid that it's gonna kill it. So I'm gonna start adding my flour, and then I'll add some salt on top of the flour. I'm using bread flour. I have some King Arthur bread flour, and that's what I'm going to use today. So we're going to start off with about, I'm going to say 4 cups of flour for right now, and then we'll have an extra cup of flour. If we need to add it, we can. There's 2, and I'm getting flour everywhere. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add our salt in. Calls for 1.5 teaspoons. All right, let's go ahead and get this mixed up. We'll see if we need to add that last cup of flour. 1 more cup, or about 1 cup. So let's go ahead and put this in. All right, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to let this beat, or let it knead for a good couple of minutes, and we'll see where we're at with our flour. As you can see, our dough, it's not sticky, but it's also not super dry, and this is exactly what I wanted. That's why I said I was erring on the side of less flour than more flour. So it took about 5 1/4 cups probably. So that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to go ahead and put this in a bowl. We're going to cover it, put this in my oven, light on, oven off, and let this rise for about an hour. And we'll come back and split this into 2 loaves of bread. Now let's get on to our English muffins. So let's get our dough plopped in this bowl. I'm going to oil this bowl just a little bit. Just don't want it to stick. All right, let's go ahead and plop this dough down in our bowl. Then we're going to give it a spin in that oil, get one side coated, then we're going to flip it over. This just ensures that, whoops, sorry for all the clanging. This just ensures that it's not going to stick to our saran wrap. So let's get it picked up, get it turned over, just like that. This is ready to go in the oven. I'm going to move my mixing bowl out of the way. It's going to be so nice to have all of these things done and prepped and ready to go. I know it usually takes a little bit of work to do these things, but it's so worth it in the long run. All right, so I've got 1 tablespoon of sugar in here, and I'm going to put in my 1 1/4 cups of water. This is hot water, or, you know, bread temperature water. We need 1 teaspoon of yeast. And we're going to let this sit here for 10 minutes until this yeast starts to bloom and starts to get all foamy and beautiful. I can already smell it. It smells delicious. I love the smell of yeast. All right, just like that. We're going to let this sit here for 10 minutes until it's all nice and foamy. All right, friends, look at how foamy that is. That is exactly what we wanted right there. So we're going to get the rest of our stuff put in here to get these made. I've got 1 or 2 tablespoons of melted butter. We're going to put that in here. You can use oil, olive oil, avocado oil, whatever you want to, or butter. I'm going to use butter. We're going to put in 1 teaspoon of yeast. We already did our yeast. We're going to do salt now. This is what happens when I get too many recipes going at one time. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of our Redmond's real salt. And we're going to do 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna use bread flour because I have some. That's what I've got out, so we're just gonna go ahead and use it. So there is 1 cup. I'm excited to make these English muffins. I attempted English muffins a couple of years ago. They were a complete flop. There's 2. All right, let's start with that right there. Let's check and see how that looks. Move this stuff out of the way. All right, let's give this a mix. And so the English muffins I tried a while back, they did not work at all. They were a complete fail. So I'm excited to try these this time. This I don't think is a traditional recipe for English muffins. I think this is a different type of recipe, which is fine. I'm excited to try these. I got this recipe from Kelsey over at Seed and Sparrow Homestead. I watch her, and she made these for her husband for breakfast prep, and she said they did really well, freezing and holding over for a week's worth of breakfast prep. So that's why I'm excited to try these. All right, we're gonna get these onto our board with a little bit of flour so we can get this kneaded. And I am gonna take off my rings because we're dealing with dough, and I really don't want the dough in my jewelry. Last thing I wanna do is pick bread dough out of my wedding ring, so we're not gonna go there. All right, let's get this kind of together and get some flour on my hands because we need to knead this for about 5 minutes, and then we'll put it in our bowl. It's gonna go, I'm gonna also put this in my oven covered with a tea towel and let it rise for an hour, and then we will come back and shape our English muffins. So we're gonna knead this a little bit, adding more flour if we need to. And as you knead dough, it starts to come together because the gluten starts to activate and it becomes less and less sticky. Just gonna start pulling it off my hands. We want this to no longer be sticky and no longer sticking to the board or sticking to my hands. Then, like I said, this is gonna go back in the bowl. We're gonna put a little oil in the bowl. It's gonna go in the oven with that bread, and they're both gonna rise. This is gonna have to rise for an hour. All right, it's feeling really good now. Whole lot less sticky. All right, that feels pretty good to me. So you can see our dough. Beautiful. We're gonna put this in a bowl. A little bit of oil. Pop it upside down, flip it around. We're gonna cover this. This is gonna go in the same oven with the bread. Light on, oven off for an hour. And we'll be ready to shape our English muffins. All right, friends, I've got flour all over me, as you can tell, but we are well on our way. We've got 2 recipes done. We've got our bread rising. We've got our English muffins rising. Now we're gonna work on our high protein bagels. I'm super excited about this recipe. As I said, I watched Becky from Baker Homestead make these a couple days ago. Her husband raved about them. I'm excited to try these. They are definitely a way to get a higher protein type bread if you're looking for this for breakfast, for sandwiches, for all the things. And the ingredient it has in it that really surprised me, cottage cheese. I love cottage cheese. I love cottage cheese with all kinds of things, but I've never made a bread with cottage cheese. So as you guys know, we're trying to eat cleaner, trying to eat things that I know what's in it. So I love Daisy sour cream. It's my favorite. So we got the Daisy cottage cheese because, as you can see, it'll focus, all that's in there is your cultured cream, cultured skim milk, cream, and salt, and that's it. That's all that's in this. So that made me super happy. So to make these, you have to blend your cream cheese in a blender or food processor or something like that until it is completely smooth. You don't want any chunks in this because that will interfere with the recipe. So we're going to put this in a food processor and blend it. It also calls for self-rising flour. I never have self-rising flour in my house ever. So we're going to use our bread flour. We're going to use the substitutions that it gives you for the gluten-free version of these bagels. So we're going to add in, I already put them back there. We're going to add in a teaspoon of baking powder and a half teaspoon of salt to the mixture. And all it takes literally is this flour and cottage cheese. Well, and of course your baking powder and salt unless you have self-rising flour. But that's all that's in this. That's literally all that's in these bagels. Yes, she said it does not have the exact texture of a regular bagel, but they're delicious. And I'm excited to have these. So I'm gonna head over to the food processor, get this all blended up. I'm gonna do this in the mixer because I wanna be able to control how much it gets mixed versus me doing it by hand. So we're gonna do this in the mixer with our dough hook on it. And these are gonna be super easy. I've got, my husband's excited. I have this jalapeno everything bagel seasoning, and that's what we're gonna season these with. He's gonna be excited to have these for his breakfast, for lunches, for sandwiches, all the things. So I'm gonna head over and get this blended up and we'll be right back. As you can see, my cream cheese is nice and smooth. We're gonna go and put this in our mixing bowl. These would be great all sorts of ways. You can season them up however you would like to. Like I said, I'm going to use the jalapeno bagel seasoning because that'll be something my husband will like. All right, so that is mixed or in there. We're going to do our 1 cup of flour. Like I said, I'm using bread flour because I've got bread flour out. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to get a full cup. We're going to put our flour in. We're going to do our 1 teaspoon of baking powder. This is what gives the bagels the lift. Since they don't have any yeast in them, they'll still have a beautiful light lift to them. We're going to do a half a teaspoon of salt. That is all that goes in these bagels. We're going to go over to the mixer, get these mixed up, and get them shaped. Got our dough hook on here. We're going to get this mixed up till it all comes together to form a nice dough. You could do this by hand, but like I said, I just wanted to use the mixer. I think we're going to do the rest of it. Well, no, let's go ahead and mix it some more. Okay, let's see what this looks like. All right, I'm going to go over and put this on my board with a little bit of flour. We're going to knead it a few times, and then it's going to be ready to make bagels. Put down just a little bit of flour, not a lot, just a little. Take my rings off again. Get that flour out there. And we're just going to put this down on our board and we're just going to knead it a few times. Just so it's not sticky anymore. And then we're going to be able to shape our bagels. That's why I was excited with this recipe. It says you just want to knead it a couple times. But look at that dough, friends. Look at that. That is incredible that we made that out of cottage cheese and flour. That is amazing. Okay, just a couple more little kneads. I think these are going to be amazing. Hubby is going to be so excited with these. All right, I'm going to use my bench scraper and I'm going to cut these into equal pieces. think I'm gonna get 6 bagels out of this. Or, I mean, 6 bagels out of this. I can't do math apparently. All right, so we're just gonna roll these into a nice little ball, and then we're gonna make our hole in the center of these, just like you would for a regular bagel. Where I always end up having my problem is keeping my hole in the center. All right, there's one. You could get bigger bagels if you wanted to. I'm not worried about big huge bagels. I want these more like sandwich size. Hubby is not a huge bread eater, so having a smaller size bagel would probably be more his speed. We're gonna do an egg wash. It's just a beaten egg. Here's our bagels. Egg wash is going to help them brown. It's also going to help our bagel seasoning stick to it. Like I said, you can do whatever kind of seasoning on these you want. If you want sesame, no seasoning on them. If you want them plain, however you like your bagels. I think hubby is really going to enjoy these though. All right, here's our seasoning. And just like that, friends, we've got 3 recipes done, ready to go. This is going to go in the oven and we'll see when they're done. I thought I was recording, friends, but apparently I wasn't. So we split our dough in 2. We got it shaped into 2 loaves of bread. These are going to rise for 40 minutes and they'll go in the oven to bake. Let's move on to our English muffins. I've got my dough right here. It's risen beautifully. So I went ahead and put some parchment on a baking sheet as well as some cornmeal. We are going to cut these into smaller pieces. Wow, this is beautiful dough, friends. That is just incredible. And I want these to be really round and perfect. I'm not going to cut them. But I am going to take each piece and put it into my ring mold so that I make sure I get the right shape. So we're going to cut this English muffin dough into some equal pieces. So cut that into, I think we can get 3. All right, and this one, we'll cut this in half. We'll do thirds. Should get us quite a few English muffins. I'm excited to try these. All right, so we're going to take each piece and we want to roll it out or roll it into a ball. And And then we're gonna take it, and I'm gonna use, like I said, I'm gonna use my ring mold, my cookie cutter, and I'm just gonna push these out. Just so I make sure I have the right shape for an English muffin. I'm gonna pull our mold off. We're just gonna set these right on top of our cornmeal. Our oven is hot and ready for our next recipe. I actually just put in 3 cups of oats in there. We're gonna make some granola bars while we're waiting for our dough to rise. It's final time. Like I said, I want English muffin shapes. That's why I'm using my biscuit cutter. All right, there's our 12 English muffins. These are gonna get covered. They're gonna go rise for about 40 minutes. There's our high protein bagels. Those look amazing. They're nice and brown. We're gonna let these cool and we'll give it a try. All right, we're gonna get started on our granola bars. Now I need to make the syrup type thing that goes over these. But first let's get our stuff mixed up in our mixing bowl, all of the nuts and the seeds and things that are gonna go in these. So we need 1.5 cups total of our nuts and seeds and all the things that are going in here. So I'm going to use my measuring cup, and I'm just going to start adding things to this until I know that I have 1.5 cups. So I definitely want some cranberries. I'm going to use the rest of these. These are some Oregon Coast cranberries we got from Bandon, Oregon. We're going to put those in there. Definitely want some pumpkin seeds in here. So we're going to do, if I can get this open, definitely going to do some pumpkin seeds in here. I think that should be good right there. We're gonna do some pistachios. I love pistachios. So we're gonna do a few pistachios in here. I'm gonna leave my pistachios whole. I am gonna put a little bit of coconut in here. And my coconut, I'm actually going to put it on my sheet pan with my oats just for the last couple minutes to let it kind of toast up just a tiny bit. I'm going to do some almonds, and I want to chop these a little bit. All right, I'm going to give these almonds just a rough chop. I don't want them like totally minced up or anything. I just want them to not quite be whole anymore. All right, I think that's probably good. Like I said, I don't want them minced up. I just wanted them a little bit chopped. All right, so that's about 1.5 cups of our nuts and seeds and all the things that are gonna make these delicious. I'm gonna give these a little bit of a toss. I wanna look at my oats that are in the oven. All right, the oats are looking beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and add the coconut and kind of toss it in with this, with the oats. My hubby loves coconut, and so do I. This is an unsweetened coconut too. All right, I'm just gonna toss this coconut around with these oats, put it back in the oven for just a couple minutes. We're gonna get started on the liquid that makes these things stick together. I've got a 1/4 cup of honey. I've got 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm gonna put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're gonna put in a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg. That should be good. All right, we're gonna cook this over low heat just to get all of this mixed together. Make sure our brown sugar gets completely dissolved into this honey. And then this gets poured over all of our nuts and seeds. It's gonna be delicious. We forgot our 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Super important. We're using a 100% pure maple syrup, not maple flavoring or anything like that. This is pure natural. All right, now we're gonna get this all mixed together, get it completely heated, get that brown sugar totally dissolved in this, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so here's our coconut and our oats. We're gonna slide these into our bowl. These are nice and hot and toasted. All right, so here is all of our syrup and our vanilla and all that stuff. We're gonna dump that over the top. We're gonna use our spatula, get this all tossed together before we drop it in our pan. Making a mess, of course. If you're not making a mess, you're not really cooking. It's a good thing we have dogs. They love hanging out in the kitchen when I'm cooking because they know something inevitably is going to hit the floor. So these are going to get dumped into our pan. They're going to hang out until they are completely cool. They have to be totally set up, completely cool before we dip them. We're going to dip them in some dark chocolate, my husband's absolute favorite. We want to make sure we're getting all the way to the bottom of the bowl, getting every single bit of these. They smell already so good. And that's the thing, friends. These are so easy and so simple, but they are all natural, healthy ingredients. There's no chemicals. There's no funny stuff in them. And that's something that I'm trying to get away from when I cook, is I'm trying to make sure that what I'm feeding my husband is good, healthy food. Set that down here. We're going to get this all dumped on top of this parchment. I'm going to make sure we get all of this off of here as much as we possibly can. All right, I'm going to use another piece of parchment paper to press these down to make sure that they get in all the corners. Use the back of my spatula first. All right, I'm gonna use my parchment paper that I have a little piece that is at the end of the roll. And I'm gonna use my hand and I'm gonna really push these down nice and tight in this pan. Make sure you get around the edges right here too, that those don't just get pushed up there loose. All right, these are gonna go sit and completely cool, and then we'll cut them and we'll dip them. Here is our English muffins, ready to bake these. Not bake them, but put them in a cast iron skillet. I have a dry cast iron skillet over there. We're gonna cook those in there over a medium to low heat. We don't want it super hot, but I have bad news, friends. I broke my tripod. The one that goes over there, the one so you guys can see the stove. Yeah, I broke it. Got another one on order, but it won't be here to finish this one, so you guys will have to kind of look from this angle. I'm sorry, it really makes me sad. I think I need to just have backups of everything, so because I've broken a couple of tripods before. So anyway, I'm gonna try to let you guys see from this angle what's happening over here as these are cooking, but I'm excited about these. They turned out beautiful. They are, you can see, they are so light and so fluffy and so beautiful. They're gonna be incredible. So we're gonna get these cooked. I just put the bread in the oven. That is done. Our granola bars are setting up. Our bagels are finished. Yeah, we're moving right along. It is almost 4:30 now, so I don't know that I'm gonna get much more done today. This rest of the stuff, which is the, let's see, the 2 cookies and the tortillas. We'll probably have to wait till tomorrow. I need to get a couple things. I need to get my kitchen cleaned up before hubby gets home tonight. So that is, and I need to get that done before I leave to go get him, because I'm gonna have to go get him in about an hour. So I need to get these things finished up. Let's get these English muffins in the pan over here and get them cooked. All right, friends, we got both of our loaves of bread are done, and they've been sitting here cooling. I had to run and go pick hubby up at jury duty, and so I just pulled everything out of the oven and let it just hang out until I got back. Our English muffins are done. You can see how high those are. They are beautiful on both sides. We've got our beautiful little bagels. He is actually on his way home now from work, and we are going to cut him a bagel and an English muffin because he wants to try these when he gets home. It's going to be his dinner. We have some ham in the fridge. We have some cheese. We have some things. We're going to make a couple little sandwiches for him, and he's going to enjoy these. But I want you guys to see these when I cut these open. So our bagel, we are going to cut this with a knife, just a bread knife, like you normally would. This has a great crunch to it. I can really feel it, friends. It has a fantastic inside. This is what our bagel looks like on the inside. It's nice and soft. That is going to be delicious. Now with an English muffin, these things you want to use a fork. This is how you get those beautiful crevices inside. You want to go right here around your center. Get that fork in there. Now this is my first time making English muffins, friends. So we're going to see how these turned out. And if we have crevices, friends, look at that. My first time ever making English muffins, and I think these are absolutely beautiful. Cannot wait. Hubby's on his way home. We're gonna toast both of these up so he can have these when he gets home. I'm gonna have an English muffin as well. But I am super excited about these, friends. Holy cow. This makes me so incredibly happy. These English muffins were so easy to make. Look at that. We have those crevices. That's what we want right there. These are going to go in the oven on a sheet pan just to get nice and toasty. so we can make sandwiches when he gets home. What we got done today was we got our granola bars pressed out in our pan. Those are gonna just sit overnight long. We're not gonna touch them. We're gonna let them just continue to set up, let that liquid continue to firm everything up in the pan. Tomorrow we're gonna cut those. We're gonna dip the bottoms of those in some dark chocolate. We are gonna make some homemade tortillas tomorrow. I think we're gonna do some sourdough discard tortillas. We are also going to make the 2 kinds of cookies that we didn't get done today. We're gonna make our sheet pan eggs that we need to make for our breakfast sandwiches. And we also need to cook 2 pounds of bacon and 2 pounds of sausage. 1 of those pounds we're gonna put into patties. 1 pound we're just gonna cook it and have it ready to go for whatever I want in the freezer. And then that should be it for our freezer prep for this stuff for right now. And then, like I said, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go through our freezers and our pantry. We're gonna do some deep spring cleaning on those areas and see what we have that we need to use up before the beautiful weather gets here and we start getting all of the fresh things. So friends, I'm gonna get these ready. Hubby's gonna be home in just a couple minutes and I want these to be hot and ready for him. So we'll see you guys in the morning. All right, friends, we are back in the kitchen. We got quite a bit done yesterday. We still have a few things to do today and I really want to get them done. So I'm getting a later start. It's already noon, but hubby had grand jury this morning and so I had to take him and drop him off, and then I barely get home and he texted me and said they're done. So I had to go back and get him. So we're gonna get some tortillas made because I'm gonna use these for dinner tonight. So I've got tortillas to make. We've got 2 kinds of cookies to do. We need to get our sheet pan eggs in the oven. We need to cook our bacon and our sausage and dip our granola bars. And I think that's all we need to do today. And that'll be everything that we're gonna get done before we start our spring cleaning of our freezers and our pantry. So let's get our tortillas ready. So I'm starting off with a cup of discard. I'm gonna put in 2/3 of a cup of water. We're gonna use 1/2 a cup of olive oil. I'm gonna switch to a wooden spoon here in a second. I'm gonna get all this out. Okay, I'm gonna mix this all together really quick. And then we're gonna add our flour. We're using King Arthur all-purpose flour. I love how simple tortillas are to make. All right, so since we're doing a double batch, I need 3 1/3 cups of flour. So there's 1 cup. Now these have to sit for 30 minutes. 2. And since these need to sit for 30 minutes, that's going to give us enough time to get a couple more things done before we start making our tortillas. So we need a full teaspoon of salt. And then we're just going to mix this. We're going to get it mixed with a spoon, and then once we get it to come together and form a dough ball, then we'll start putting this on our board and we'll get this kneaded. We only need to knead it for a couple of minutes. You don't need to don't want to over knead your tortilla dough. I had to think what I was trying to do here. I'm going to use my spoon as long as I can. Just start mashing it to get all of that dry dough or dry flour mixed into this dough before we start working it with our hands. All right, I'm gonna get this off my spoon. I'm going to start working this in the bowl just a little bit. All right, I'm just going to use my hand to kind of work that dry dough in the bottom of their bowl in here. So the reason we're going to let this rest for a little bit is because kneading this is activating the gluten. And if we try to make these into tortillas and roll them out, they're just going to spring back. They're not going to hold their shape. They're just going to... So you need to give that gluten a chance to relax a little bit. I'm going to get this so that I can really feel a good soft dough. We're going to make something absolutely delicious with these tonight for dinner. That'll be in a separate video. It feels pretty good. It's a nice soft dough, not too soft. We're going to cover this with a tea towel, put this over on top of the stove, and just let it hang back there and rise. And we're going to get started on a couple more things we need to get done. All right, I'm melting some chocolate in the microwave. I'm going to go ahead and cut these granola bars. They set up really, really nice. So I'm going to cut these into the size bars that I want them to be. Okay, we're just going to stir it until it's fully melted. Let the residual heat from the chocolate melt the rest of it. And then these are going to get dipped one at a time. So here's our dark chocolate. We're just going to dip the bottoms. Just like that. If we have any left after we dip the bottoms of them, I'll drizzle some, but I'm not going to count on it. There's our finished chocolate, dark chocolate granola bars. These sit over there and dry completely. We're going to move on to the next recipe. So we're going to get our sheet pan eggs in the oven so that they can just be baking and doing their thing while we get some more things done. So these sheet pan eggs they have spinach, or they have tomatoes, and they have spinach. And I'm going to use my dehydrated spinach that I have here. I think this is going to be perfect for these eggs. I also wanted some cheese in them, so I stopped by Market of Choice, one of our local grocery stores, and I grabbed some different cheeses that we're going to be using this week. So I got an onion and chive cheddar, a Fontina, I got a Blarney cheddar, and I got a Gouda. And I think we're going to do these two cheeses, the Blarney and the onion chive, in with these eggs, because I love onion and chive with eggs. So I also got a hold of my egg lady this morning. Super excited. We went and picked up a dozen fresh eggs. Whoops. Got a dozen fresh eggs. So excited about that. We're going to use that full dozen in these sheet pan eggs. So we need to get our eggs mixed up. I'm going to melt some butter. I want to brush the bottom of this parchment paper with some butter so that my eggs will I make sure my eggs come out. My oven is hot. It just preheated at 350, so that's ready to go. Let's get this butter in the microwave and get it melting. I'm just going to brush this all over this parchment, up the sides too, in the corners, because I want to make sure that I can get these eggs out of this pan. I don't want them to stick. So we're just going to melt or rub this melted butter all over this parchment paper. Get this on here, and then we're going to get our eggs mixed up. Not putting any meat in the eggs because we're going to cook some sausage patties and some bacon in the oven. And we're just going to have the elements to put together a breakfast sandwich. with the bagels or the English muffins we made yesterday, or the bread we made yesterday, anything like that. All right, I'm gonna set this aside and get our eggs mixed up. So I've got a mixing bowl. We're gonna go ahead and crack this dozen of, I have not had farm fresh eggs in so long. I'm so excited about this. Look at that yolk, friends. That is a fresh egg. I'm gonna mix the spinach in these, but I'm gonna cut the tomatoes and lay the tomatoes on top. And then it's gonna get in the oven and it's gonna bake and they're gonna be delicious. She also blessed us with some duck eggs. I've never had duck eggs before, so I'm excited to try some duck eggs and see how we like those. These are beautiful. I love the colors. It's just so interesting to see all the colors of fresh eggs, the shells, how they're different colors, and you just definitely don't get that with commercial eggs. All right, there's our dozen. We're gonna put in some dehydrated spinach. We're gonna put in some Redmond's real salt. Some fresh pepper. A little bit of dehydrated garlic. And I'm gonna put some dehydrated chives in here instead of dehydrated onion. These are gonna be delicious either by themselves from the freezer or on a breakfast sandwich instead of just a plain egg. Put a splash of heavy cream in here. All right, we're gonna start whisking these, get these all mixed together. I love the smell of the herbs. All right, gonna get some cheese in here. Got a little bit of the Kerrygold Blarney cheddar. Put in a little bit of this chive and onion cheese. Face Rock is a local creamery to our area in Bandon, Oregon, which is over on the Oregon coast. It is about 2 hours from us. Hubby and I love going to Bandon. It's one of our favorite places on the southern coast. So we go there quite often. And I love getting cheese directly from the creamery. All right, so let's put in some of this. I want a good amount of cheese because this is going to be the main component of the breakfast sandwiches, or if we're just going to eat them by themselves. Okay, just like that. Let's give this a whisk. Get all that cheese combined in there. And then this is going to get dumped onto our sheet pan. We're going to cut up our tomatoes, and our tomatoes are going to go on top. And then this is going to go in the oven. Now, if you've never baked eggs before, they do swell quite a bit. They puff up. So you want to make sure you have a pan that's big enough to hold the eggs you're cooking. So here is my sheet pan. We're going to go ahead and dump these eggs on here. Okay, so we want to spread these out as much as we can. Make sure that cheese gets distributed. Just to the side till we get our tomatoes cut up. These are just going to get cut in half. Okay, so there's all of our tomatoes. I'm just going to scatter these tomatoes. If you're not a tomato fan, you don't have to do the tomatoes. I just saw this recipe on Instagram and thought it looked incredible. Hubby loves tomatoes. I thought this would be a good way to use, let's do something a little bit different with breakfast sandwiches. All right, these are gonna bake at 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, friends, I just pulled our eggs out. Look how absolutely stunning that is. Is that not beautiful? Fresh eggs, tomatoes, spinach, all the things that are good for you. Cannot wait to have these in some breakfast sandwiches later. Maybe just have them plain. We're gonna let these cool, cut them into squares, and then I'm gonna put them in the freezer and let them freeze. But you know what, friends? I have to taste a little bit because I have not had farm fresh eggs in forever. And the thing is, regular commercial eggs don't usually agree with me. I usually don't tolerate them very well. If they're cooked in something such as cookies or something like that, I can handle it. But to just eat eggs, I can't do it when they're just commercial. That really tells me what they do to their eggs. And so I think I'm excited to go back to having some fresh eggs again. And so can't wait to taste this. A little bit hot, give it just a second. I went ahead and put a pound of bacon on a sheet pan, threw that in the oven. It's cooking. That's my favorite way to cook bacon, is on a piece of foil in the oven on a sheet pan and just let it cook. And then we're gonna let that cool, and that's gonna go into a Ziploc bag and go in the freezer. We've also got a pound of just regular Jimmy Dean sausage. We are going to, I know it probably doesn't have the cleanest of ingredients in it, but it's not horrible. So we're gonna get these cut into some patties, and we're gonna fry them up so that they are fully cooked and ready to go, and all we have to do is reheat them. That's the thing, friends. You can buy pre-made sausage patties in the freezer all the time, but they are so expensive. This was on sale for $1.99 right here. And I'm gonna take 5 minutes and put these into some small patties and fry them up, and I'll have my own sausage patties, and I don't have to pay a ton of money for it. So there you go. All right, let's give this egg a taste. Can't wait. Oh my gosh. Farm fresh eggs, and you can taste the difference. I highly encourage you guys to find a local farm and buy fresh. Buy fresh eggs if you can, because 9 times out of 10, one, they're gonna be cheaper, especially with the price of eggs right now. Farm fresh is gonna be way cheaper. Number 2, quality. there's no doubt. Absolutely delicious. So good. All right, I'm gonna stop eating. I'm gonna set these aside. We're gonna put these in the freezer once they chill and then, or cool down, and then we're gonna get started on getting our patties made so we can get those in the pan, get those cooking while our bacon's cooking. We still need to make our tortillas. We still need to make our cookies. And yeah, I think that's where we're at. So let's get moving. All right, so I've got my balls of sausage. I just took that 1 pound chub of Jimmy Dean sausage and got it all portioned out into balls. I'm gonna take 2 pieces of parchment paper. I'm gonna flatten these out into thin patties, and then these are gonna get cooked. So I've got my pan over there on the stove heating up. I'm gonna just put my sausage patty in here. I'm gonna use my hand. Now, the reason I'm making these so thin is because they're gonna puff up when you cook them. And I would rather have them on the side of a little bit thinner, so when they puff up, they're still gonna be a good size for a breakfast sandwich or whatever. So we're just gonna peel this off of our parchment paper, set this aside, and we'll move on to the next one. As soon as my pan is hot enough, then we'll get these cooked. All right, friends, there is our 10 sausage patties. They are cooked perfectly. They are nice and brown. We're gonna let these completely cool, and then we're gonna package these up in a freezer bag, throw them in the freezer, and then I've got fresh sausage patties ready to go for breakfast or whatever. My sausage patties all bagged up and labeled, ready for the freezer. We've got our delicious eggs. Here's our egg squares. Those are gonna go in the freezer in a Ziploc bag. Some of them have tomatoes, some of them don't. It's totally fine. I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna put these on the sheet tray, put these back on the sheet tray, put them in the freezer, and then we will bag them up individually, like in pieces. So we'll have these ready for sandwiches. All right, so here's our bacon. When I freeze bacon, I don't like to cook it. We like our bacon crispy, but I don't like to cook it all the way crispy when it's going in the freezer, because when you put it in the microwave, it's gonna cook a little bit more. So I'm gonna call it good right here. Just gonna get this on some paper towel, let it drip all the grease off of it. And then these will be ready for the freezer. Be able to put these in there, and these will be ready for breakfast sandwiches, for BLTs, whatever the case may be. The next time I find a really good sale on bacon, I'm gonna stock up and bring it home, and I'll cook it, and I'll put it in the freezer, and then we'll have even more bacon in the freezer. Occasionally they do have a good sale on it. The other reason I love doing bacon on a sheet pan like this on foil is then I let the grease solidify, I wad it up and throw it in the garbage, and it's done. Friends, we're gonna get started on our strawberry cookies that I wanted to make. They're a strawberry oatmeal cookie. They're super easy, minimal ingredients, super healthy for you. And I'm gonna make one substitute though. I thought I had almond butter and I don't. I think I used it for something and I forgot. So we're just gonna use some all natural peanut butter, and it should be fine. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. So I'm gonna get my bananas mashed up first. These go together super quick, really easy. That's what I love about them. And then after we get these done, we're gonna make our cookie that we're just gonna put in the freezer. It's one that we're not baking today. We're just gonna put those in the freezer, and we'll bake those as hubby would like a sweet treat. And last thing we need to do today is cook our tortillas, and our dough is just about ready. So let's get these bananas mashed. So I love that these are super easy, and the ingredients are really good for you. Lots and lots of healthy things in them, with the bananas, strawberries, the all natural peanut butter, maple syrup, oats. That's essentially all that's in these. It says it makes 16 cookies. We'll see how many cookies I get. I always tend to make my cookies just a little bit larger. But like I said, I love that these have all natural ingredients in them, and there's nothing funny in them. I know the ingredients that are in my maple syrup. It's just 100% pure maple syrup. My oats are just pure oatmeal. My peanut butter is all natural. So we're actually getting something that's really, really healthy for hubby. We're gonna put in our 2/3 of a cup of our natural peanut butter. Never mind my dog who's whining. We need a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. And I'm just going to use the same measuring cup and not dirty up more dishes. So make sure that you're getting a really good maple syrup knot. You want to watch for the ones that say maple flavoring. If it says maple flavored on it, it's not pure maple syrup. And what you're getting is most likely corn syrup, something like that with a little bit of maple flavoring. And let me tell you, friends, nobody wants to eat that. I know I don't. As I said, I'm really trying hard to make things from scratch, to make things homemade. All right, so let's get our peanut butter and our bananas mixed up. Then we're gonna mix in our oats, our strawberries. Oh, we need a little salt. Yeah, these are really minimal ingredients, really, really easy. Put just a tad bit of Redmond's real salt in here. All right, we need 2 cups of oatmeal. All right, let's get our oats in here. Go just a little bit extra because that 1 cup I put in there wasn't quite full. All right, let's mix this up together. Like I said, I'm super excited that these are so healthy. I'm really, really enjoying making sure that what I'm getting is all natural, really looking at the ingredients that we're eating. These smell delicious already. All right, now we just need to cut up some strawberries real quick. Tip for you guys, store your fresh berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, all the berries. Store them in mason jars in your refrigerator, and they keep forever. I've had these in jars in my fridge for well over a month before, and they were still absolutely, these have been in there for 2 weeks, and they are perfect. So I'm just gonna hold them real quick. We're gonna dice them up, get them mixed in there, and that's all that goes in these cookies. I love when I can just get in the kitchen like this and get a bunch of projects done, a bunch of cooking, and really feel good about knowing that I've got my freezer, you know, filling up with delicious things that are healthy for us, foods that are good for us, that are gonna make my life a little bit easier on days when I just need a little bit of help. I've got a cookie sheet with some parchment paper on it. Right, I'm gonna use my spatula this time because I wanna just gently fold these strawberries in here and not mash them. I want them to stay nice and beautiful. So we're just gonna use our spatula to kind of fold those strawberries into these cookies. Look, don't those look delicious? These would be great for breakfast too, because they're not high in sugar, they're not high in, you know, anything that isn't good for you, and so these would be perfect for a quick breakfast. All right, let's go ahead and get these scooped out and onto our tray. I don't think they're gonna spread because they don't have any baking powder in them or anything like that, so I think they're gonna hold their shape pretty well. Might have to get another pan out. Thought I had enough room on this one, but I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, we're gonna have to get another pan. All right, there's our strawberry oatmeal cookies. We're gonna put these in the 350 oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, friends, we're gonna get these toffee chocolate, what are they, cashew, toffee, chocolate chip cookies made. These are the ones that we're gonna make. We're gonna scoop them, they're gonna go in my freezer. And then once they're frozen solid, we'll pack those into a Ziploc bag and we'll have those ready for whenever we want a sweet treat in the evening, whenever I have unexpected company, anything like that. I love having this kind of stuff. If I'm doing a big cooking day, like I've done the last 2 days, I'm doing a big day like this, I like to make a couple of sweet treats and have those stashed in my freezer for just whatever. So I saw this recipe. Renee over at Welcome to My Curls did this one a couple days ago. They looked incredible and I immediately put them on my list. I already had my list of what I was making this in this big cooking day, but I added these quickly to the list. I'm like, I have to make those. They look incredible. So let's get these made really quick so we can get on with the rest of our stuff. We need to get our tortillas cooked, but I want to get these done and get these in the freezer. So these are going to go together super quick. So we need 1 stick of softened butter. We need 1 egg. We need a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I'm my 1/2 cup measure right now, so we're going to use the 1/4 cup. We need a 1/2 cup of white sugar. We need a little bit of vanilla. And we're gonna beat these up until they're nice and creamed. All right, we need a 1/4 cup of oatmeal. Half a teaspoon of baking powder. Half a teaspoon of baking soda. One and 1/8 cup of flour. A little bit of salt. We're going to beat these together. We're going to put in a 1/4 cup of Heath chips, and you want the Heath with the chocolate on them. And I had just about a 1/4 cup in this bag left over, so I'm just going to polish this off. We're supposed to have 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips. I'm using dark chocolate chips because that's what hubby and I prefer, is dark chocolate. We're gonna mix those. Now we need cashews, and I'm gonna chop these up real quick. I'm gonna put these in. These went together super, super quick, and I love that. I love having a good cookie recipe that can go together super quick. And just like that, those are done, and we're gonna get these scooped out, and we're gonna get on with our tortillas. All right, let's get these scooped out and onto our tray. Doesn't matter how close they are together because we're just going to throw these in the freezer and they're going to freeze solid, and then once they are completely solid, we will come back, get them out of the freezer, put these in a freezer Ziploc bag, and they'll be ready for us to bake cookies whenever we have a hankering for something sweet. Our last cookie, these are going in the freezer. I can smell those oatmeal strawberry cookies and they smell incredible. We're gonna go and pull these out of the oven. And there's our cookies. They smell amazing. We're gonna set these aside, let these completely cool while we get going on our tortillas. I really need to get those rolled out now because I need to make dinner in a little bit and I need those tortillas. All right, so I've got my tortilla dough here. So we doubled the recipe. The recipe called for 8 to 10 tortillas. So I think we're gonna cut this into 16 pieces. So I cut this in half. So I want each half of this to give me 8 tortillas. So we're gonna get this kind of in a shape that we can work with. All right, so I'm gonna cut each of these into 4s. So we'll end up with 16 tortillas. I'm gonna use parchment paper to roll them out just to make sure that they don't stick to my board, and that if I have to peel them off, I can peel them off the parchment paper pretty easy. Using a dry cast iron skillet, and I wanna get this into a nice ball. So just like when you're working with pie crust, if you roll this in sections, it's going to be a whole lot easier to keep this more of a round shape than it is a rectangle or an oval. We want these super thin. The directions say you want them almost see-through. Okay, I think that's about where I want it. That's nice and thin. My pan is hot. I'll have to show you guys from this angle because my tripod broke yesterday. So we're just gonna peel this off and drop it right in our cast iron skillet and let that cook. And we'll start on another one. I've got a towel right here. We're gonna set this towel down and we're gonna put our tortillas on this towel and keep them covered so they stay nice and warm and they don't dry out. You wanna get them a little bit brown on one side. Make sure your pan is hot enough, because if your pan's not hot enough, they're not gonna really cook. And you don't want any oil in your pan either. You want it to be totally dry. You can do it on a cast iron skillet, you can do it on a cast iron griddle, you can do it on a non-stick griddle, whatever works best for you or whatever you have. So that is our first tortilla. We're gonna put that down here on our towel, cover it up so it stays nice and warm. And we're gonna do number 2. All right, friends, thank you guys so much for joining me. I know this was an extra long video, but I had a lot of things I wanted to get done. I was excited to share all these with you guys. Hope this inspires you to get in your kitchen, to start cooking some things ahead of time, start stocking things in your freezer, just to make things a little bit easier. Life gets so busy. Nobody wants to spend all their time in the kitchen. As much as I love to cook, I love to be in my kitchen, I don't always want to be in here. I want to have time to spend with my husband. He works a lot of hours. I put a lot of hours in on YouTube. So I like to have convenience things, but I don't want prepackaged things from the store. So as I said, we got lots of things done. We got our eggs are ready to go. Those are packed up and ready. We got our sausage patties. Those are ready to go. We got our bacon in the getting ready for the freezer. Our English muffins, they've already been eaten, but they're gonna go in the freezer. I apparently need to make another batch of bagels. There's only one left. Can you believe it, friends? So yeah, apparently hubby liked those protein bagels. So those are, I'm gonna make another couple batches this weekend. I have a friend that wants a batch, so I'm gonna make some for him, and then I'm gonna put a batch in my freezer. We also got our delicious granola bars are packed up and ready to go. Those are ready for all this week. We got our strawberry oatmeal cookies ready to go. These are delicious. Hubby's been enjoying those in his lunch. These are our Cashew Toffee chocolate chip cookies that just came out of the freezer. Those are bagged up and ready to go. They'll bake at 350 when I'm ready for some cookies. We got our bread baked. We have one full loaf, and that's what left of the other one. So we've been eating that one as well. And then we've got all of our tortillas, and I'm excited to have these in my freezer all of this stuff, with the exception of the partial loaf, is going in the freezer. And I think I'm going to keep this bagel out for hubby for his breakfast tomorrow morning. And yeah, but everything else is going in the freezer. We've got lots. This right here is a lot of breakfast right here. And I'm excited to have all this stuff prepped and ready to go. It did take quite a bit of time, but it's going to save me so much time in the mornings. It's going to save me so much time when I want some of these things and I already have them prepped in my freezer ready to go. So it is a time saver. And so yeah, this got me geared up for our next video, which is we are going to be doing a spring cleaning on our freezer and pantry. So I'm going to bring you guys along with me, and we're going to be going through everything we have so we can see what we've got, what we need to use, what we need to eat up before we start bringing in all of the fresh things from summer, all the produce, all the other things that I enjoy eating. But I want to have room in my freezer because we're going to be doing some big freezer stocking over the summer with fresh veggies and things. And I want to have room in my freezers for those. So I need to go through those and make some room. So friends, I appreciate each one of you guys. If you made it to the end of this video, give me any kind of an emoji in your comment. Let me know that you guys made it to the end. As I said, I know this is a long video, longer than I normally do, but I had all of these things on my list. I wanted to accomplish this. I wanted to get these things in my freezer. I can't wait to show you guys how we use these things over the next couple of months. I do have a whole the list of freezer things that I want to get done. So that's going to be another video that we'll do later. But for now, I'm exhausted. I'm done for today. So friends, I'm going to go get this stuff put in my freezer so that it's back in there and ready for me when I need it. I'm going to go sit down and relax for a little bit. It's going to take me a long time to edit this video, so I need to get that done. So you guys will see that on Friday. And friends, I love you guys. I appreciate each one of you so much. Friendships mean so much to me. Your comments mean so much to me. My husband and I just love getting to read all of your encouragement that you guys leave for us in the comment section. I will leave all of the recipes in the description box, as well as the channels linked for the channels that I got the recipes from. Renee from Welcome to My Curls, Kelsey from Seed and Sparrow Homestead, and Becky from Acre Homestead. I will leave all of those in the description box for you guys to go check them out. If you don't subscribe to them, I highly recommend you subscribe to them because they are amazing and I love getting to watch them. So friends, thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks so much for coming into my kitchen and hanging out with me, getting to see what I'm cooking, what we're stocking our freezer with, trying to give me some motivation to get ready for the next season that's coming up and getting my house ready for that season. I appreciate each one of you. And friends, if you have not yet, please hit that subscribe. I would love to have you part of our YouTube family. Hit that notification bell so you're notified when we do upload videos. See you guys on Friday, or not Friday, but see you on Saturday for a live video. Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a little bit later on Saturday, only because we are heading out Saturday morning to the Amish store, which is about a couple of hours away north from us. Hubby's going to come with me this time, so we're going to go up there and check it out and see what they've got. Go spend some time in the little store up there, check it out, and we'll bring you guys along for that one. You guys get to see everything we pick up while we're there. And friends, we'll talk to you guys in the comments. Have a great day, and God bless.